Record. Hi, everybody. I'm Tim McGuinness. On behalf of Silver Event Professionals, I'd like you to welcome you to our series of informal interviews with leaders in the event industry. These sessions are meant to be brief, again, informative, and hopefully a little bit fun too. Today, I am thrilled that for today's discussion, I have with me the president of GES Exhibitions North America, Mr. Jeff Quade. Jeff, welcome.
Thanks, Tim. It's a pleasure to spend some time with you today.
Yeah, thank you. And it's been a long time. We haven't seen each other, but it's good to see you, and you look terrific. So, anyway, hey Jeff, listen. There may be people. I don't think there are probably many that are listening to this right now that don't know GES, or I should say, probably know GES, but don't know the complement of services and things that you guys do for the industry besides being a general service contractor. Give us a 1 minute pitch as far as GES and who GES is.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. GES, as you know, Tim, is a exhibition and event service contractor, and we operate throughout North America, the United Kingdom, Europe, and the Middle East. And I think most folks are familiar with the core services that GES provide. What they may not know is the other brands that are associated with in the GES kind of family of brands. We have Spiro, which is our event and exhibit agency that provides event and exhibit agency services to Fortune 100 companies, primarily in the pharmaceutical and aerospace and defense, and then a lot of exhibit and event activations to technology and financial services companies. And then On Peak is another brand that provides hotel accommodations business, primarily in North America. And our Showtech electrical brand provides exclusive electrical services in the 4 convention centers in Toronto and 1 convention center in Edmonton. And then last but not least is our visit, registration, and lead and data services business that today primarily operates in the UK, Europe, and the Middle East. So just a little bit of an overview outside of the core services that most people probably are familiar with GES.
Yeah, thanks. That was helpful. And just to kind of add to that, I mean, you guys are a global company, right?
Yeah, we operate in North America, in the UK, and in Europe, and then have boots on the ground in Saudi Arabia, Abu Dhabi, Dubai, and Qatar.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, thanks. And we're going to talk about GES a little bit further as we get farther into the discussion here. But, always during these discussions, I like to have a little bit of a lighter moment with my guest. And so I've got some questions for you, Jeff. I want to know about Jeff Quade. So,
all right.
You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, Jeff, what's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie, probably. Oh, I like. You're gonna stump me right off. Pick me. I have to just pick one.
Well, go for two. Go for two, or go for three.
I like the whole Star Wars series. So I think about back to the Star Wars era and and then kind of on that sci-fi genre. So Star Wars would be my first pick.
Okay, all right. Listen, I know you're now a Floridian, but let me ask you this: what's your favorite vacation spot?
My favorite vacation spot probably would be either Cabo or Hawaii. So I've been to both places. I'm a nomad, as you know, Tim. I grew up in the Midwest and then
Right.
lived in the Pacific Northwest and then spent a number of years in Las Vegas. And so when we lived out west, we spent a lot of times vacations either in Mexico or Hawaii. So those would make my two favorite spots that I remember going to with the gang.
Good choices. I like that. Person you most admire, either professionally or personally.
From a business perspective, and I just came back from Omaha. I was at the Berkshire Hathaway shareholders meeting. So I think from a business perspective, operating humbly, with a great degree of ethics, I would throw Warren Buffett on the top of my list.
Okay, all right. Favorite fast food restaurant?
In and out.
I knew, you know what? I didn't know your answer, but I knew that was going to be your answer. For
Yeah,
some reason,
that was, those quick answers, in and out, absolutely.
you didn't even hesitate.
No, sir.
Okay, Jeff, what number am I thinking of?
I have no idea, Tim.
Come on.
Number 5, number 6 for Stan Musial?
No,
No.
Jeff, what's the scariest animal?
The scariest animal?
Yeah,
A
come on.
bear.
Okay. You know who said that to me on the first interview that I did was Tommy Goodwin. He said the same thing. You
A
guys must.
bear or number 6?
No, he said a bear. So, all right, listen, last question. If trapped in a foxhole, what person would you most like to be in there to help you get out?
Oh, goodness gracious. I'm going to leave. I'm going to say his first name, leave his uh, last name anonymous, but Ken. So, my college roommate was a fighter pilot, served 20 some years in the U.S. Air Force, military vet, and MacGyver extraordinaire. I would take him to get me out.
All right, I like that. So I hopefully he'll listen in on this and he'll hear the compliments, right? So
Absolutely.
hey, listen, this is a bonus question for you. I know you're a St. Louis Cardinals fan, right? Can you tell me how many World Series championships the Cardinals have won?
11.
Wow. All right. Impressive. Good job. Hey, Jeff, listen, I want to talk about your career now, right? So you're currently I think it's 31 years with GES right now.
Yes.
And but bring me back to the when you were a youngster, right? You go to what, Oregon Institute of Technology, right?
That's correct.
You go from St. Louis to Oregon?
No, I went from St. Louis to Southern Indiana, and then almost finished high school in Southern Indiana. And my father took a transfer to Portland, Oregon, and so I finished my senior year in high school in Portland, and then went to college out in Oregon.
Got it. Okay, so you graduate from OIT, right? How do you get into the trade show, the event business at that point? What happened? Tell me.
Well, it's interesting. I didn't know it at the time, and when I was going to OIT, I was in an industrial marketing and management program, and the dean of the program knew John Shirley, who was the president of Microsoft. And so our senior year, we got to go work the Comdex booth in Microsoft, in Las Vegas. So you can
Yeah.
imagine some senior college kids in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Um, we behaved, and we really did. So it was a good experience, right? And then later on, when I got out of school, I was introduced to an individual, Lowell Nickens, who owned Classic Exhibitions, and Classic was a exhibition services company, and they owned a modular display company. And at that time, Tim,
Where were they
everything
based at, Jeff?
they're out in Portland. So they're based in Portland, and then we later expanded into Seattle. And then Classic was later acquired by Greyhound or GES in the mid 90s. And when I joined Classic, Lowell wanted to, I guess, automate every portion of his business. And so if you wind back the clock to, and when I say this, I really feel like I'm dating myself, but in the late 80s, everything was done by hand. So
Yeah. Yeah.
signs in our business were hand painted, floor plans
Yeah.
were hand drawn, but on vellum with a pencil. The counting was done manually, the order processing was done manually, and Lowell really had a vision for improving the performance of the business by automating it. And so I went to work for Classic, and I kiddingly joke this is the IT guy. All right, so I joined Classic as the IT guy and worked part-time nights and weekends at first because I had another project that I was working on for a school district that I had taken on right out of college. And so I finished, some of the IT projects, and then Lowell came to me and asked me if I would start a computer services company or registration services company to complement his exhibition and exhibit business. And we did that, and it was successful. And throughout that journey, Lowell sold the exhibition services business to Greyhound,
Okay.
and the registration business kind of merged in with convention data services,
Oh, sure.
and
Yep.
based on the Cape, and now recently acquired by Merit. So got to start in this business kind of at the very ground and at the roots basis of the business, really on the systemization of the business. And I think that has afforded me kind of understanding how all the pieces and parts work together. And certainly on the registration side, the beauty of the exhibition business is organizers bring buyers and sellers together, and how do you connect those communities, and how do you make that data available both to the organizer and the exhibitor. We were doing that kind of work early, late '80s, early '90s.
So this gentleman had a lot of foresight in the business, right? Seems like a really innovator and entrepreneur. And then I assume when he sold to GES, you went over with that acquisition at that point. Uh,
Yeah, he sold the GS, and I stayed working with him because we had the registration business that he did not sell to GS, and
oh,
we kept working with that. Remember, he had an exhibit company and a registration business, and so I continued on, and then that registration business kind of merged in with convention data services. And after doing that transition and spending a number of years on the road, I say I went back to work at GES, but I went back with my colleagues because we were all in the same office. So
sure.
I went to work for GES in '94, really going back and rejoining the colleagues that I'd worked with for a
In
number of
where?
years.
In where, Jeff? Vegas? Did you go to
In
Vegas?
Portland, in
Got it.
Portland.
Okay. And how long were you in Portland for?
I was in Oregon 13 years, four of them, going to college, and then 9 outside of that. So
Gotcha. So, and I know you spent a big chunk of your career in Las Vegas. So you transitioned over to Vegas, and I assume was that with a promotion that went with that? And what was your job in Vegas,
yeah,
or jobs, I should say, maybe multiple jobs.
yeah, there was one more stop in between Portland, Seattle, and Vegas. Is Greyhound GES had acquired Concept Convention Services in Phoenix, Tucson, and Albuquerque, and I transferred down there and went to work for the GES office and really helped transition them from Concept to GES, and did that for a handful of years, and then moved to Las Vegas. And so when I moved to Las Vegas, I have done multiple jobs. So I was in large account management, large portfolio account management, heading up just our exhibition sales team, our exhibition sales and marketing team, have had responsibility for our client services and service teams. So I've been fortunate enough to have had a number of different jobs over the years at GES, concluding with the job I have today, which is running the North American business unit for GES.
Yeah, congratulations. When did that occur? That was in the last year, right, Jeff?
Um, I took the responsibility of the job in October of 2019, before the pandemic,
Oh,
and
okay.
then and then did that job for a couple years, 2 or 3 years, got the team through the pandemic, and then have added on the additional business units, both ShowTech, On Peak, and got a couple different titles through the year. But the core job of being responsible for GES North America really started in October of '19.
Well, listen, well deserved, and listen, there's nobody better, more qualified, and deserving of that job within the organization. So, um, so I'm, the organization's, obviously got, one of our one, you're a great individual to run the organization. I do want to transition, talk a little bit now, a little bit more about GES as a whole, but also the business, because you guys went through some changes recently, right? Um, I'm going to date myself in the last several months, maybe a year, right? When TrueLink's gotten involved with the organization at this point. So walk us through that. Walk us through where GES was before the TrueLink relationship and partnership, and how that all occurred. Kind of walk us through that.
Yeah, so GS had been owned and kind of part of the Viad Corp for many, many decades. And at the end of the year, Viad sold the GES family of businesses to TrueLink Capital. And TrueLink Capital is a mid-market private equity firm based in Southern California. And that transition has really gone really well. They have come into the business with a mindset that they want to really support the growth plans of the business and the growth plans that we had put in place as kind of a team. And those growth plans are, how do we expand into new geographies, and then how do we expand the services that we provide to exhibition organizers and exhibitors within the geographies that we service. So that public to private transition was fairly smooth. It happened at the end of 24, and we're really fortunate to have had the Viad Corp to have owned us for many, many years.
Yep.
And then our new ownership group who's really wanting to invest into the business and to support our ability to provide excellent service to our exhibition organizers and the exhibitors that they bring.
How have your how have your customers embraced it at this point, or has it been fairly transparent for them?
I think it's been fairly transparent, but for a number of our clients, when we explain to them kind of the benefits that we're working through, they're very pleased. So, some of those benefits, Tim, are we're undertaking a significant investment in a new e-commerce system, and you think about, how do we create, a best-in-class interconnected experience for those exhibitors, and then how do we provide what I call pro level of services to the EACs with that digital tool. We've made investments in our graphic fabric printing network. We've made investments in our stick to frame and our frame exhibit system that we use throughout the business. So they're seeing the end result, which is better equipment, newer equipment, better
Right.
services for them and their exhibitor. So, it's been, again, very, very positive.
And looking at it from a growth perspective, are you looking at it, or are they collectively, you and them, looking at it from a growth perspective, both domestically here and also internationally, or is the main focus going to be domestic?
I think we are looking at domestically and internationally, right? So, last year we started doing more and more work in Saudi Arabia. We started doing more and more work in Qatar. We've got some pilot shows that we're doing in India right as we speak. So there's opportunity to service new geographies, and then there's opportunities to bring new services to those geographies, and it could be some services that we only offer in one part of the world that we bring to other geographies to enhance the services that we're providing.
And I know you're just handling North America at this point, because I know you've got your hands full at this point, but you have a counterpart over in Europe or in the Middle
Yeah,
East.
I'm responsible for North America, and I have a compadre, Jason Stead, who's president of GES EMEA, who's responsible for our UK, Europe, and Middle East business.
Out of curiosity, Jeff, how's the business climate right now in the events business at this point? I know that we've got a lot of disruption right now in Washington, but what are you hering out there in the marketplace at this point? And have there been any, how has it impacted the business, basically the events that you guys service?
Yeah, Tim, I would look at it, and I would bucket my response into kind of near term, short term, and then long term. So near term, short term, the shows that we produced in the first quarter of 25 performed very, very well, and they met our expectations, and they met the expectations of, I think, our organizer clients from an exhibitor net square footage and attendance perspective. And we're early on in Q2, but I think we're seeing that same strength in Q2. I have some concern with, and I bucket it, people always want to ask the question about tariffs. Well,
Yep.
I bucket tariffs, and I'm just going to say it, noise in Washington, D.C., or we do a lot of work for the government. So if there's a government shutdown in the fall, I know the government kicked the can to late September. those are some current concerns I have. And, you know, I'm now wearing just my North American hat, right? So,
Yeah.
the large international shows that are held sometimes aren't held annually, but, biannually or triannually, are those shows still seen as the place to market goods and services by primarily international companies that come to the
Right.
US? And
Right.
so, will the Asian manufacturers, the European manufacturers choose to exhibit at the same level they've exhibited in the past in North America?
Yeah.
I have some concern. Don't have any data on it. I just, because again, our first first 2 quarters of shows were strong, and I'm thankful for that.
Good, good. I'm kind of hearing the same thing out there in the marketplace at this point. It's kind of a wait and see mentality at this point. I think it's a little too early to start gauging where it's going to go, but I think we're going to find out a lot in the next probably just my own opinion in the next 60 to 90 days at this point. So anyway, Jeff, listen, I promise you that we'd be brief. We are over the allotted time that I promised to you. I could continue the conversation for quite longer, but I'd like to wrap up. But I also want to thank you again for making time because again I know you're a busy guy, and it's very much appreciated. And hopefully we can continue the conversation maybe at another time.
Yeah, absolutely, Tim. Let me close also and say thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. We kind of approach our role in the exhibition event business from a, servant leadership, right? So our job is to serve the exhibition organizers and help them create events. And our purpose is about connecting people to experiences and innovation in one another. And this is one avenue that we can connect with our constituency digitally. And I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, this has been great. So I appreciate it. Anyway, Jeff, always good speaking with you, and hopefully we'll see each other soon.
Great. Thanks, Tim.
All right.